Empires don't always fall with a bang. Sometimes they collapse under the weight of fear. Fear of outsiders, fear of rebellion, fear of their own people. And when that fear takes root, the justice system becomes a weapon. Welcome to Fault Lines. Today we're exploring how crime and punishment evolve as empires decline, and how the United States, with rising panic about crime, immigration, and disorder, may be walking a familiar path. The criminal code of collapse. Throughout history, crime has exploded not at the height of empires, but in their decline. In the final days of the Roman Empire, lawlessness spread as the state lost control. In Weimar Germany, political gangs ruled the streets. In the crumbling Ottoman Empire, local warlords, pirates, and bandits exploited weak borders and broken systems. But these weren't just crimes of greed. They were symptoms of inequality, instability, and failing legitimacy. Punishment as theater. When crime rises, empires often don't fix the root causes. They respond with spectacle. In ancient Rome, public executions were staged in the Colosseum to reassure the masses that justice was being done. The French monarchy, on the eve of revolution, cracked down hard on petty theft while ignoring the systemic causes of poverty. In the Qin dynasty, brutal legalism imposed punishments like mutilation and death for minor infractions. It worked, for a while. Then the people revolted. Punishment becomes a performance, not for justice, but for control. Criminalizing dissent and identity. In times of decline, empires often blur the line between crime and resistance. The Roman Empire persecuted Christians as enemies of the state. The British Empire in India treated protest as sedition. The Nazis labeled political opponents and minorities as criminal threats, filling concentration camps under legal pretense. The law becomes a tool not to protect, but to suppress. And justice becomes selective. Who you are matters more than what you've done. American echoes. Crime, panic, and power. Let's talk about today. In the United States, crime is politicized like never before. Illegal immigrants are detained in special facilities. Guantanamo Bay still holds prisoners with no trial, some for over 2 decades. Private detention centers profit from incarceration. Now, reports of a new ultra-restrictive immigrant detention site nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz suggest a shift toward militarized punishment and public deterrence. It's not just about security, it's about spectacle, a message. And history tells us, when fear drives the law, freedom disappears. The price of fear-based justice. This is the paradox. Harsh punishment may reduce short-term unrest, but it deepens long-term instability. When citizens no longer trust the courts, when dissent becomes domestic extremism, when entire communities are treated as threats, then the empire fractures from within. Look to the Soviet Union, where political crimes filled the gulags, while corruption flourished in the shadows. Or late Rome, where crime was blamed on foreigners and slaves. Until Rome itself was sacked by outsiders, they failed to integrate. What happens next? When crime becomes a code word for social anxiety and punishment becomes a proxy for national identity, the rule of law erodes. And once law loses legitimacy, so does the empire. We're seeing signs today. A two-tiered justice system, mass incarceration without rehabilitation, immigration courts with one-minute hearings, rising distrust in police, judges, and government agencies. Crime has become the canvas for our collapse because instead of healing the fractures, we criminalize them. Final thought. The empire's mirror. Empires in decline always ask, how can we stop the chaos? But history asks a different question. What created it? If we see crime as a cause instead of a symptom, we chase shadows. and punish the powerless. Rome did it. The Ottomans did it. The Soviets did it. And now, are we? So, do you think the US is using crime and punishment to preserve power rather than justice? Is fear reshaping our laws? And are we watching history repeat? Let us know your thoughts. Your voice matters here. Subscribe to Fault Lines, the fall of empires, for weekly deep dives into how power unravels, history echoes, and democracy trembles at the edge.